Hi, I'm Angela H. Brown. I'm the Executive Director for Craft Lake City. The Craft Lake City Business Academy is taught for creatives by creatives. These business courses are led by established makers in the Salt Lake City art scene. You'll be learning tips, tricks, and trade secrets from their combined decades of experience. I hope you enjoy this class, and thank you so much for your support of Craft Lake City and Utah's creative community.
I'm just going to give you a little overview about me. I own Mineral and Matter and Nova Nail Bar, and I've been doing Craft Lake City for all of the festivals except the first one. I was a customer and hadn't quite moved here yet. So I've seen them all. I've done farmers markets, Park Silly, out of state shows, and Salt and Honey, and I've done the Banking on Women and the Goldman Sachs business courses. My Mineral and Matter store has 12 employees, and the Nova Nail Bar has 5, and hopefully next week 6. And then we're working to interview number 7 pretty soon as well. So that's going great. And I have several revenue streams. I do retail, wholesale, online markets like farmers markets type things, and trade shows. Personal overview, I've kind of always been an entrepreneur. I think one of my earliest memories is when I was 4, I was selling buttered bread on the sidewalk to my neighbors. I don't think I made a lot of money, but that was kind of the start of everything. And then I worked in LA for a jewelry designer, Sagoli Jewelry. I interned briefly at Tom's Shoes, which is one of the best, or the beginning of the like 1-for-1 movement, and do a lot of charity work with their company. And it's a great business model, and I loved being a part of that. I love any business now that can add an element of charity into their model of operations. I think it's super helpful and gives you more purpose for what you're doing. So just to recap some different funding sources, you can use the Utah Microenterprise Loan Fund, or like the microloans that Celtic Bank talked about. That's a great way to get started. The SBA also has very small up to very large loans. So they are free to talk to. You just set up an appointment and go in and talk to them, and they'll give you all kinds of advice about what you can do. Personal credit cards are a great way to go. They're not maybe the most, I don't know, you just want to keep them separate like they talked about, and so that you know what's personal and what's business. And then reinvesting earnings is how a lot of our growth has happened as well. I definitely would reiterate what they said: to open a business bank account, use a business debit card, and use a business credit card. And then other options for you would be Shopify or PayPal Working Capital or different loans. There's grants out there. They're hard to come by, but if you're looking to do some research and you like going down rabbit holes, you can find them. Or family and friends. I have a production assistant who is about 3 years into her business, and she just got a loan from her dad to continue her goal and get towards where she wants to be. And if you can manage your money well and keep your relationship strong, then I would put that on the list and not discount the possibility of working with someone you already know. Now we're going to kind of talk about logistics a little bit at shows. We might have gone over this in some of the others, so I'm going to go a little quickly, but how much to bring to like a market like Craft Lake City? I would say it really depends on what you sell, but to focus more on variety than backstock, unless you have a really good seller, and then you would want to have backstock of that. But I find that having a variety of things that appeal to a variety of people might be better than just having a couple of products with a lot of stock of it. Ways to track it would be manually, just pen and paper, or Square and your point of sale purchase. You can upload your items ahead of time, and then you can pull reports of what you sold or a printout of how things, which items exactly sold. For me, I have so many items that I just look at the dollars. I don't look at specifically what sold. And then making the sale, you can use all the different platforms. One I would mention is Venmo. I'm finding at a lot of the farmers markets, if I tell people I take Cash Card or Venmo, then a little light bulb goes off of like, oh, I forgot about my Venmo money. And it feels like a free purchase to them. So I would have that a Venmo account and have it a little printout of your QR code that people could quickly scan. And then some of the tips and tricks that we've talked about before, just make sure you have it priced. People don't like to ask how much something is. They want to see the price right there. And you might be busy and not able to answer them, or they might not wait until you're not busy to get the answer. So just making sure it's not hidden. Practice your upsells and your package deals. Anything you can do to make sure they noticed everything in your booth that might be of interest to them, and then collect their contact information or take pre-orders or custom orders. Some little behind the scenes tips would be like bring a battery pack or a charger and an extra reader. I can't tell you how many times my brand new Square reader has died 2 hours into a market. And it's just good to have another one or a battery pack so you can charge it or your phone, and know how to process your payments without Wi-Fi. An example of an upsell might be, would you like a $5 limited edition tote with that? It doesn't have to be an expensive thing, but just a little add-on. Everything that you can do to get them to add something to their purchase if they're already willing to purchase from you is a good idea. They're already your customer, so just get them to spend a little bit more than they were thinking of spending. I would say make sure you charge tax. Do not include it in the price. Otherwise, you're going to lose an extra 8% out of your market earnings paying the taxes for that. So make sure that you add it on top, and your point of sale reader will automatically calculate it, or you can calculate it with cash and just round down to the nearest dollar. But don't forget to include it, because they're willing to pay it and you don't need to cover that cost. And then pay your sales tax right after so that you don't spend your money before you pay your taxes. Now we're going to talk a little bit about pricing. Normally, your pricing is your materials and your labor plus your overhead times your markup. And this is true, but also no. How much should I charge for my new bandana? So I have a new bandana line, and here's a little breakdown of it. You can see my materials and labor and overhead come out to about $6. And if I do a regular 2% markup, then it's going to be about $12. Wrong answer. Try again. If I were to price my bandanas for $12, I would not stay in business very long. So how much I should actually charge for my bandanas to stay in business? We're going to look more detailed, like there's the materials cost, but there's also the shipping cost. And then these were imported from overseas. So there's the duties, there's the packaging, and then don't forget the labor to actually get the packaging on the product. And so I broke that down to what I would pay an employee to do it and how many they could do per hour. I also pay royalties to my graphic designer for designing the bandana with me in the first place. And then I have overhead to cover my studio or my workspace. And then beyond that, I have my time spent concepting and working with the graphic designer and facilitating the printing partnership and all the editing and the back and forth. And for my purposes, that's so much of my time. I just kind of put a little number in there so that there's something accounting for it. And especially with this piece, there were 2,800 pieces. So I didn't want to get too high per piece. But if you only have 5 pieces of something, you really want to make sure that you're accounting for how much extra time you spent on it outside of actually making that one thing. So I have my total cost of goods sold, that's what COGS is, at about $7. And then I'm timesing it by 2 to get my wholesale price. But then I'm not stopping there. If I'm selling on Faire or if I have a rep, I'm going to have a commission that I have to pay those people at 15%. So that's going to add an extra couple of dollars to my price. So my adjusted wholesale is $15.80 or about $16. And then with a regular 2 markup, we're going to get to $32 for a bandana, which is quite a bit of a difference from the original $12 that I had. But this is going to help me stay in business and make sure that I can cover all of my expenses and it's not a ridiculous price. So if you look at the analysis of it, if you sell your bandana wholesale, you're going to double your money. And wholesale is really a quantity game instead of a price game. You want to get a lot of sales, even at that lower price point, and that's going to end up being a revenue stream that has a lower profit margin, but has a higher quantity component to it. If you sell at retail, then you just triple your investment or more, depending on where your wholesale markup is at. And then if you sell at retail, but in a deal, like a lot of markets, I'll do 2 for $50, then you still make a good return on your product. And then at the end, if you remember what cost you forgot to add in, you still have wiggle room for profit. So if you look back at my bandana structure, you didn't see a price for content creation or photography, which I definitely had a photo shoot for these. Add that back in and you're okay. The other way to do your pricing is pricing by your gut. If you don't want to get super detailed, or you don't have that many products, or you just aren't that far along, you can price it by your gut and kind of work backwards of what do you think you can sell it for. In my case, I think I can get $32 for a bandana. So then I just ask, will a customer pay that much? And I want you to look at your product from the outside and talk about all the selling features. So like mine is fair trade, it's organic cotton, it's an original art design, it's high quality, those edges are beautifully seamed. My customer base appreciates art, and I know other bandana brands that sell for this much, and mine's cuter. So I'm going to say, yes, I can get $32 out of this. Just really think about, if I had to make this my income, what would I be okay with price-wise? And then the next important thing is to value you. So the first part of this is, what if I don't want to sell at wholesale? Can I just double for my cost of goods sold? My answer would be no, because you may want to sell at wholesale in the future, and it's hard to go up in price if you start too low. Also, just small Lake City, if you are not selling wholesale, but your neighbors are selling wholesale and you're undercutting them, that's going to be something that they notice, and it's hard to scale up if you don't start out with the correct pricing. And if you've determined that a customer will pay that much, charge that much. Even if you're not going to wholesale, if it's still a legitimate price, then you deserve it. And the people buying your product want to support you. They want to spend that much. And then other reasons to start with a good pricing structure is if you have a sale in the future, you have room to have a sale. You can offer it for 20% off and you're still fine. Or if you get a new studio, you grow out of your bedroom, now you have money already built into your pricing to accommodate something like that. Or if you go viral and all of a sudden you need to make a ton of these items, you'll have pricing wiggle room to where you can still accommodate any changes that might come up that you might need to have some just a good price point to start from. And also, you don't want to raise your prices all the time. You want to have a consistent price, and it's okay to go down, but it's harder to go up. People notice more if you go up, but they don't notice if you go down. And then valuing you. Undervaluing yourself is probably the most common mistake in pricing. Just because you make $15 an hour at your day job doesn't mean that you have to pay yourself $15 an hour in your own business. You are every part of your business. You're the creation, you're the designer, you're the brains, you're the bronze, you're the person out there selling it, everything. So what do you want to make? $30 an hour, $50 an hour? I agree. You're worth it, just like L'Oreal says, and you should charge that rate. The next one would be measuring success beyond financials. So just if you don't hit your sales goal at a festival or at something that you're doing, you want to keep in mind other things that you can get benefit from. Brand awareness, we've kind of talked about, and contact collection, we've talked about in previous classes. Customer requests or wholesale accounts. One of my biggest wholesale accounts came from a festival. One of the store owners that owns 14 stores shops at Renegade Craft Fair, and she came to my booth because it was busy and wanted to know everything. And I started talking to her and realizing like something's weird about this lady because she's asking a lot of detailed questions. And then before she ended up leaving the booth, I realized, oh, she's a wholesale owner and she owns 14 stores and she just placed a $10,000 order with me. So you just never know who is going to walk into your booth and what you could get from it. So keep that in mind. And if you do wholesale, have your wholesale line sheets at craft fairs because you will meet store owners from time to time. Networking. This candle line right here was designed by Ali from Hot Slice Designs. And she is now my graphic designer that's on retainer. Every month I pay her a fee, and she does 4 projects a month for me. 2 like collateral pieces, like press promo pieces designs, and then 2 product designs. And so this is like a promo piece where she designed the candle labels, but I never would have met her if I hadn't been booth mates next to her at the Hive Market at Trolley Square. Maybe I would have met her, but we sat and talked to each other for 7 hours, 2 days in a row, and then we ended up working together. And then also just experience. If you don't have a great festival on every account, then what can you do to make it better next time? Like what was the sticking point? What can you learn about what your product sold, or how you can change things around to make your next festival even better? I can tell you for sure that I make way more at my festivals now than I did when I was starting out. And it's because I changed something every single festival that made the next one just that much more of a good festival for me. Hiring help. My team's currently at 12 people, and then the nail bar has about 5. And I just hired my first full-time person in May. So it's been just me with a lot of part-time help for a very long time, and bringing on someone full-time has been amazing and totally changes the game. So I would say that applies backwards as well. Every time you can hire just a little bit of help, you're going to be able to use your time more effectively. So the first person I hired was an accountant, and that was crucial for me because as much as I'm presenting the financial portion tonight, I'm not that great at numbers, and I really needed some help when I got started. Then I hired retail sales help for weekends so that I didn't work 7 days a week. And market sales help is pretty easy. You'd be amazed at how much your friends or followers on Instagram would love to be paid a small amount and come help you out at a festival. It's just a really fun time for them. And it's a great introduction into the industry for them to figure out how creatives make money. Production help you can do on a, I'm losing the word, contractor basis. Like all my production assistants work from home and have 1099 contractor status. I have the graphic designer on retainer. My photographer just comes twice a month. And then I have some other freelance help from time to time. I just hired a business coach, and that's been really amazing and super helpful it's like therapy for your business. I recommend therapy for your personal life too, but when you can hire a business coach, that's an amazing addition to help you reach your next goals and to really dial in what you're doing and how you're doing it and have that outside perspective. I would also suggest hiring your weaknesses or your dislikes first. Like I can't do accounting, and so that is who I hired first. And then consider freelance and gig jobs. That's hard to say. Part-time, trade, collaborating, seasonal, contractor, those are all legitimate hires. You don't have to hire someone full-time or even part-time. You can just hire a little bit when you need it. And consider hiring also services that help you reach your goals. Like right now, I'm upstairs in Maven Create presenting to you guys, and that's a co-working space that's above my store. And I pay them $100 a month to have access to this. And I've used this space for photo shoots. I've used it for meetings. I've used it for stuff with my employees, like little get-togethers. And it's just a nice extra perk of a way to grow my business without having to put a lot of money into it. I would also suggest, we talked in social media, but Planoly and via text, and ActiveCampaign is like an email, like MailChimp type provider, or just browse the App Store in Shopify, and you'd be surprised what they have if you use a Shopify website. Like they have apps for time clocks. They have apps for how to like do shipping marketing and how to keep track of in-store pickups if you have a retail store. Other things that you might consider are outside of the business, like what could you take care of in your personal life that would help you in your business? On my part, I hired a housekeeper once a week because I cannot do it all and I still want to clean house. So I hired that out. You can pay for courses that help you grow. I just bought an Instagram course that is my first time paying for an actual course. And I think it's going to be really helpful in using reels and hashtags and dialing down in ways to monetize our account and as a brand and get just that outside perspective. So look into different things and see where you could spend some money that would help you grow, that doesn't have to be limited to just hiring people to help you. Hire the things that will help you with your goals, and or hire the things that are sticking points. Like if you need time to design, then consider hiring shipping help. Or if you need a break, then consider hiring market help. For Craft Lake City, I'm going on my family vacation, and it is the same weekend of Craft Lake City, which bums me out, but I can't miss another family reunion. So I'm going to go on that, and I've hired some great girls to cover my booth, and it's going to be fine. The next thing we're going to talk about is employee retention. So just think through the things that could help you, like paying well, offering perks, using a flexible schedule, being transparent as much as you can. Think about things you could offer that aren't regular benefits. Like for me, offering vacation and sick time is not that hard to do. I just use a Google Doc to track it. Or having an emergency fund if you can't offer vacation. Like the people that help you with your business, just set aside $100 every month or every 2 months. And when they have something big that comes up, you could offer them something. Like I had a production employee who had a baby, and I offered her 2 months paid maternity leave out of my emergency fund, which is not something I didn't know what I was saving it for. But when I realized that, oh yeah, I could offer you maternity leave with the emergency fund, that's where it went to. And so she's more loyal to me because I was able to, she was not expecting it at all because she thought we were too small. Other things you can do are help them out with their career goals. You can make a job title be anything you want it to be in the small business world because we wear all the hats. So whatever their career goals are, you can offer to make them a CV that will match up with their goals once they're ready to leave you. And then just ask them, have evaluations, and make it a two-way street. Like if they know that you're willing to talk to them, they can bring concerns to you that you can solve if you know what they are. You should always pay yourself. I meant to put a slide in there and I forgot about that. You can take owner's draws from your business. Like that just means you take money whenever you need it, but it's better to give yourself a paycheck from the beginning, even if it's like $300 or whatever it is, even if it's really small, give yourself a paycheck just like you would any other employee because your business can't run without you. And the next thing I would say is know when your raise is. Like if you, are paying yourself really small to start with, have an end goal of like, I'm going to get this X amount dollar raise in this month. So for me right now, I take a paycheck every 2 weeks, just like my employees. And in November, I get a raise because I know my sales are going to be great around Christmas time. And I just hope that I can sustain that new raise on into January, that I will have grown my business enough to now support that. So definitely put yourself on payroll as soon as you can and try not to cut it. Like I'm always tempted during COVID. Oh my goodness, it was so hard to leave my paycheck alone, but I needed to pay my mortgage too and my rent for my store. So I just didn't touch it. And we made it. We took out a ton of loans, but we still made it. And that the business has debt, but personally I'm okay because I kept paying myself during that. I've wanted a business coach or a mentor for a long time. I would suggest a couple things here. If you are friends with anyone in this group, like mentor each other and go to dinner once a month after this and just talk shop because your husband or your partner gets tired of hearing about it and your friends want to talk about gossip, not your shop. So find another shop owner that's at the same level as you or just above you and make it happen. Like just calendar it in. Like Erica from the Land of Salt, her and I have been shop talk buddies for a long time, but you need one at whatever level you're at. And then the next thing I would say is if you can find a business coach. I didn't really know too much about them. Honestly, my therapist was like, we talk about your business a lot. Maybe you should get a business coach. And so I did. I went and found one because we were spending too much time, personal time, talking about business. And I found it through Maven. If you reach out to Sammy at Maven Create, or maybe Angela knows some business mentors or business coaches, or you can just look around on Instagram, and they don't have to be local. But I would hire one as soon as you can. And we had a strategy meeting where we sat down for like 3 hours and I just brain dumped every part of my business to her. And then she went home and thought about it and came back to me with a spreadsheet, and we made goals, and 5-year goals and 3-year goals and next month goals. And then we made a financial plan on how to get there. And then we check in twice a month on how we're doing. And we problem solve really tiny things like, how do I get the nail bar girls to keep their space clean, up to really big things of like, what 3 trade shows am I going to do this year? A trade show is for wholesale. So if you're going to sell your product wholesale, it's where you go to a big convention center and you set up your booth like you would at a trade show, but super professional, and you only have one of everything, because nobody's going to leave with your product. They're going to write an order that you fulfill and ship to them later, and its store owners are the customers. I'm paying $6,000 for one in Las Vegas, $6,000 for one in New York, and $3,000 for another one in Las Vegas, just to try them out. I mean, I've done some of them, but some of them are new to me. And the goal is to get customers that own stores to order my product and then to reorder throughout the year. So they are a really big investment, but I would say wholesale is like 60% of my business overall. So it's really important for me to go to trade shows.